Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Maxi here once again, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more Let's Play of Donkey Kong 64 for the Nintendo 64. So, last time we've essentially, not only we did somehow beat the boss in the forms of Creepy Castle while simply taking down King Cutout, but also we did somehow manage to accomplish the forms of Hideout Realm. So as a result though, 2 worlds have been done. So as a result though, all we need to do now is that we're able to actually access to the true final thing we need to do. And that is to take on King K. Rool once and for all. So before we do that, let me go ahead and quickly go over to this particular island because we haven't been in there for quite some time at this rate. And because of this, since we've actually now captured every single photos with every single banana fairies in this game has to offer, this also means that, well, it's only still be accessible with Tiny Kong in mind, so just to ensure that we'll fit in here, and then something tells me about the fact that we'll get ourselves the final special reward if you manage to rescue every single banana fairies in the game. So, relatively speaking, there are a grand total of, I would classify for saying 20 of these things, so as a result though, once you're able to... Wait a minute, does that collectible look familiar to you? Well, I believe something tells me that it might be very familiar and quite suspicious at the same time. Oh my god, there's a very special golden banana right there. Rather than just saying the N64 logo, instead it's now Rareware. So, yeah, this means we've got ourselves 201 golden bananas right now. So this means we've basically collected everything now. So, yeah, relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that with that particular special golden banana in mind, it's only exclusive to Tiny Kong. So relatively speaking, she has the most of the actual golden bananas that she's collecting. So, pretty interesting all things considered. So, now we've actually done with that, and now let's go ahead and unlock the final keypad lock, or the actual, you know, once we're able to actually get back in here. Then sure enough we'll insert the final DK boss key, and sure enough we're able to free this guy, and we can now able to actually say that, well, today for this video, as far as what I meant to say, that this will be the true definition of the finale of Donkey Kong 64, by going for the finale portion of the game. So, but first off, we got ourselves a cinematic cutscene here. Okay, as you saw right there, about the fact that the King Cruiser 2 just somehow managed to get knocked over, and because of that though, it crash landed onto the exact same location as when almost right near to the actual barrel cannon that actually leads us to Fungi Forest. So as a result though, we're about to be able to hit over there, And we do need able to actually get into pad number 3, because that's where it's located. So it's even then, we can able to actually just go ahead and switch over to Donkey Kong, and relatively speaking, we somehow made it towards our way to King Cruiser 2, where, you know, the final battle awaits us. So before we able to actually get in there, on the other hand though, let me go ahead and jump right in, and also I need to pause the game, so just to ensure that we will see the actual every single completionist as far as this is concerned. So we got 201 golden bananas out of 200, 40 port blueprints, 1 Nintendo coin, 20 banana fairies, and 1 rare coin, and 40 banana medals, and also 8 boss keys, and of course 10 battle crowns. So yeah, we've basically got everything at this point, folks. Now it's time to hear this one last time for this okay. Yeah, that's what it says on here. So either way, let's go and get ourselves to prepare for ourselves the final battle in Donkey Kong 64. And this somehow takes place in a boxing ring this time around though, as opposed to the forms of how it does it in any other Donkey Kong Country games, that it does manage to take place in the forms of somewhere in the Gangplank Galleon in the original game, or in the Flying Fortress from the likes of Donkey Kong Country 2, or especially noticeable with the actual castle itself from the likes of DKC3. So either way though, it's pretty interesting to be able to start things off in the boxing rematch. So either way though, that might be saying something. So I just really love the actual humor about the fact that they somehow managed to break in the fourth wall whenever they managed to produce the actual boxing ring match or something. So yeah, from here, all we have to do in this particular final boss battle against with the forms of the good almighty King K. Rool that we're about to take on. And relatively speaking though, about the fact that, well, yeah, this battle is going to be a lot longer than I was expecting, because as far as I'm aware, we do need able to go through multiple phases of this entire fight. So as a result, I'll explain more details about that, and somehow this microphone guy just somehow managed to get flattened by his stomp. So yeah, I felt incredibly sorry for him though. But either way, let's just go ahead and get started. So yeah, as soon as you're able to actually begin the final boss in the game, we always have to start things off with the actual Kongs in a corresponding order. So to begin with, on the first round we have is, of course, we're playing as Donkey Kong to start with. So either way though, we'll again explain more details about that once we get able to actually get this fight started. So yeah, those gremlins up there are actually dealing with the actual ring at the bell. So either way though, let's go ahead and get this thing started. However though, I get the strong sense of feeling if you dare die at any point of this entire final boss fight, much like the forms of how it does it in both Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie essentially, I believe you have to start all over again from scratch. But anyway, let's get the actual final boss battle started. So here we go with the first phase of the fight. That obviously, as I said before, we're going to be taking control of Donkey Kong to start with. And basically, all you have to do is pretty simple. It's about the fact that you need to dodge his attacks. And basically, once you're able to done enough dodging, as you can tell, there are some barrel cannons we can able to hop into. However, though, we need to do an exact 4 hits on him, though. So as a result, in order to able to time your shots well enough, is that you need to able to let King K. Rool to somehow manage to able to do a cheering kind of stuff. And then basically, though, that's the only way you can able to attack him. So, however, if you manage to able to fire at the wrong time when he was still punching, basically you're gonna get hit. So as a result, definitely one of the hardest boss fights in the game in Fury, because to be expected, this is the finale portion of the game, obviously. And second is that, as I said before, if you ever die into this fight, you have to start all over again. So in this case though, if you want to default to the next round or something like that, well, you're just gonna have to able to actually come across into the forms of the lack of checkpoint system. So either way, let's go ahead and dang it, that was actually my fault. But at the very least though, luckily, if we managed able to move on to the forms of the next round, basically though, it's about the fact that since I keep on getting hit like twice so far, so this means about the fact that once we move on to the next Kong, which is essentially Diddy Kong in some cases though, well, relatively speaking though, your health will start to regenerate. So yeah, pretty cool and awesome at the same time if you manage able to have some bit of struggles with the entire boss fight or something. So Anyway, so that concludes the first round, so pretty easy and self-explanatory. So now we move on to the second round, which actually features Diddy Kong. So, yeah, speaking of which, I somehow hinted at earlier. So, this is where the fight starts to get a bit tricky sometimes, especially because the main emphasis on this next round is that we have to able to once again dodge his attacks, obviously, and the actual main emphasis on this entire battle, though, is that not only they have to dodge his burrowing boxing gloves, but also that his barrel shows up, which means, yes, you have to once again utilize the rocket barrels, and luckily, we do actually have ourselves infinite amounts of those crystal coconuts and peanuts, essentially. So, yeah, as you can see right there, we actually stumbled across those specific targets that we do need to once again destroy. So as a result, though, once again, you have to do this for about 4 times. So I think that could be also applies into any other rounds, for that matter, except for this one, just because about the fact that it does require something that is very unique to the table. So, now of course, keep that in mind though, since we are on the boxing match, we have to rely on a time limit. But, don't worry though, if you somehow manage to let your time run out, basically you move on to the next round instead of the forms of, you know, going to start all over again for this entire fight. So as a result though, the only way you do start all over again is that you essentially die basically. So, yeah, it's definitely a little bit trickier than the forms of how it does it on any other bosses in this game. So, well, what makes this round a little bit tricky for me, though, is that you have to get a lot of precision going, especially because you always have to rely on shooting any other targets for certain searchlights or just headlights in general. So, either way, though, I think you do need able to destroy for about 8 targets. So, and keep that in mind, you have to watch over for that particular what King K. Rool was actually standing onto. So relatively speaking though, about the fact that, gee, it feels like almost like a prequel to the forms of whenever before he goes into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate or something. Or originally Super Smash Bros. Melee, but turns out it never happened on Melee because obviously we actually got ourselves, and you know what I mean with all that, Pokemon characters, including the introduction to the Fire Emblem characters. So, but either way, that pretty much does it for the second round. So now let's move on to the third round. So, I think the third round might be also be very tricky at times, only because of that one particular thing that you need able to keep an eye on for. So in some cases though, now we're going to be able to take control of Lanky Kong here. And I think, relatively speaking, that we're basically onto the halfway point in this battle. Because, yeah, as I said before, this boss fight right there is almost like a marathon of any sort. Because, well, relatively speaking, you have to deal with so much of it, though. And I kind of think about it, though, this particular boss fight almost kind of reminds me of the forms of Metal Overlord or Metal Madness from the likes of Sonic Heroes, because obviously we're able to take control of different amount of Kongs. So in some cases, though, that might be something worth noting for. So, anyways, in this particular phase right here, we need to able to activate any of those switches, and basically all you have to do for this particular phase is that, as you can tell, once you're able to activate those specific switches, the barrel that usually contains is a ginormous banana peel. And basically, once you're able to place the banana peel, and it's all about the timing angle for when it comes to likely, like, as you can tell, that we need to activate that instrument pad, and then you would able to actually get the accurate aiming shot, until you're able to actually just to, like, well, technically hit him for about, once again, 4 times. And what makes this a bit tricky, though, is the actual aiming accurate thing for the sake of the forms of whenever you're trying to stretch your arm. And then basically, though, that's essentially how you can able to do for this particular phase. But sometimes, though, about the fact, as I said before, this particular phase is a little bit tricky just because of all that. Not only because about the fact you need to be so accurate with all that angle aiming radical for, like, you know, trying to stretch your arms and stuff to able to activate certain switches, but also you need to be so accurate with all that, the different angle that you can able to activate that particular instrument, so you can get the chance that you might able to actually hit King K. Rool by simply slipping onto the actual banana peel, like this particular angle right there. If you manage able to do the wrong angle, then obviously it might not make it work, because otherwise you will get hit. So, either way, that's 3 banana peels, so only about 1 more to go. So either way though, and relatively speaking, whenever you move on to the next round, the time itself to somehow resets. So relatively speaking though, it doesn't carry the time over. So either way though, at the very least it's a good thing. And by the way, you do need to able to activate all of those instrument pads by the way to make it count, because otherwise you need to be so perfect on this. So either way, I think that basically does it for phase 3. So there he goes. And of course, every time when King K. Rool just gets knocked out, the timer will begin. However, though, that you always going to be guaranteed able to force to move on to the next round. So, relatively speaking, that might be seems very obvious because we're going to be playing as all 5 Kongs in this entire battle. So, it feels kind of a similar system as the forms of how it does it in, well, you know what I mean, with all that king cutout from the likes of the forms of Creepy Castle. However, though, the biggest difference is that there's no penalty if you do somehow manage to able to, like, well, I don't know about you, because it has been about 3 days ago now since we've actually last played this. Because recently speaking now, today is of course the 27th of February today, in this case in 2023 today. We're getting very close towards at the end of February, so yeah, not much else to speak of. So it looks like that now King K. Rool is now back at the ring without getting distracted by the forms of seeing the darkness, thanks to the forms of that particular, one of those headlights is managed to stuck into its head. So yeah, now let's move on to the 4th round. In some cases, we're now playing as Tiny Kong. So Tiny Kong's face feels a bit interesting to say the least. Although you still need to able to dodge a lot of his attacks though, obviously. But the biggest difference is here, that the way if you're able to actually attack him, is that, as you can tell, that's where it gives us a hint that there's actually body forms of that particular hole that, as you see, on this particular shoe. So basically, though, it's about the fact that once you dodge enough of his shockwaves attacks, basically, whenever he starts to able to itch or something like that, like as you can see right there, basically, the Tiny Kong's barrel shows up, and basically, we have to go right into his shoe. And basically, that since we actually got ourselves the infinite amount of ammo for feathers after all, so this means in order to able to deal the amount of damage to this particular face, is that we need to able to aim right at his toes. So yeah, pretty weird to able to actually deal the amount of damage to this face. So, and something tells me about the fact that we need to do this like multiple times. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit tricky because you have to rely on the forms of where exactly when his toes starts wiggling, and generally speaking though, that's essentially how you can do it for this particular phase. Not much else to talk about, aside from the fact that I'm almost going to be dying right here. So either way though, I couldn't imagine if I was going to be embarrassed to able to actually get myself my next death throughout the majority of this playthrough. So let's not make that happen though. So as you can tell, one of his toes is now red, so in some cases though, now we need to aim for another toe, which as a result we now need to hit it for about 2 times or something. But then again though, what makes this face a little bit tricky though, is that you have to rely on the forms of what the actual wiggleness for the actual toes is gonna like extend or something. But relatively speaking now, about the fact that once you get the actual face down, you should deal with it alright. It's just about the fact that, wow, the inside portion of his foot feels a bit tricky at times. So but yeah, that's as far as I can say about the actual, for the sake of time for this point, folks. I mean, relatively speaking, though, that's, well, I'm shocked and surprised about the fact that we're actually getting, well, there's not much else to say about this, because, well, that's what I can say. Well, apart from the fact that, well, after this particular phase, we probably get into is by far is my favorite phase in the entire fight. That, basically, though, it does require us to be able to play as the final Kong of the actual thing. That's of course Chunky Kong for one noticeable reason, but I'm sure enough though that seems the case. So, and obviously we now need to hit that particular 3rd toe for 3 hits, so, and then the last toe will be for 4 hits, so, yeah, and vice versa in particular. There's no way you can able to go into the left foot, just because there's no hole on this left foot, so that makes a pretty obvious sense, so So yes, you have to keep on using the ponytail until you're able to, like, you know, dodge his shockwaves, and that's pretty much about it. So, now I'm sure enough though about the fact no matter is though, I'm pretty sure there's no way you can able to actually get out of the ring, because obviously about the fact that I think it's like invisible walls heavy kind of thing. So either way though, let's just go ahead and deal with this particular section for the last time. So, oh boy, this is where things gets a bit tricky, so... But still, luckily we've got ourselves infinite amounts of those feathers that we can able to utilize with, so we don't need to necessarily worry about the forms of running out of those weapon ammos, unlike the forms of how it does it in not only in Banjo-Kazooie, but also Banjo-Tooie, that if you run out of those ammo, then basically though, you're gonna have to able to keep farming them for certain, you know, locations of the hub world or something. So, yeah, that's the actual whole point of this. So there we go. And I think that basically does it for Phase 4, so... Yeah, I can't believe this is actually feels a bit slightly tricky, so... Especially noticeable, you have to dodge a lot of insanity amount of stuff, so... It's pretty nice to see the actual, like, English voice actors was in this, just like the forms of the opening cutscene, but all it happens is just the forms of announcing the, you know, the rounds and stuff like that, as well as the countdown, so... Anyways, let's get into the 5th and the final phase of the fight, and as I said before, this is my favorite phase of the fight, and as a result, we're playing as Chunky Kong, and something tells me about the fact that this is the greatest way to able to end this boss fight in. So in some cases though, about the fact that, as you can tell, now that King K. Rool decides to go all over the place, and also he just somehow becomes invincible. And as a result, luckily we've got ourselves some more health back, so we don't need to necessarily worry about the forms of the health carries over. So once you activate the switch right there, the Chunky Kong's pad will show up, and basically we have to transform into ourselves Gorilla Gone, which not only does it reveal King K. Rool himself, but also our barrel shows up, which means we have to become gigantic with this particular in mind, and basically you have to do a timing punch, so just in case you will be able to actually get enough good hits on him. So again, it's all about timing based, because otherwise if you time it way too early or way too late, basically though, you're gonna get hit. So as a result, definitely a lot more timing based than the forms of how it does it on the previous phases, for sure. Well, that's only mainly because about the fact that with this well-timing punch, they have to rely on timing. So speaking of such, there goes our second punch. But relatively speaking though, that's all I can say about this particular final boss battle in this game in particular. It's just, well, despite the fact that how long this particular battle can be sometimes, I think it might actually took you about 20 minutes, if depending if you keep on dying a lot. So as a result though, well, relatively speaking though, yeah, oh god, he's actually invisible in this state. So as a result, yeah, I just got punched. So yeah, it doesn't really matter, because either way though, well, relatively speaking though, about the fact that I lost a bit of my health, so... Oh, jeez Louise. Chill out, man. Anyway, let's just go ahead and get in the barrel again, and hopefully I should be able to get the accurate shots or the aiming punch again, so there goes that. And I think we've only got one more punch left, until we're basically done with King K. Rool himself. And by that time, not only do we able to actually see the normal ending, but also the best ending. Well, relatively speaking, there's also technically the 101% secret ending of the game, which I'm sure enough though I'll show this off once we're able to deal with the final punch with King K. Rool. So he's now going to the zigzag formation while he was invincible, so... And there goes King K. Rool, and that pretty much does it for Donkey Kong 64. So, we won, guys. We've won. Woo! So yeah, enjoy the ending, folks. So yeah, the day is pretty much saved thanks to Donkey Kong and his friends, and sure enough though, everything else restored in peace, and King K. Rool got beaten up by the forms of, well, that particular familiar Krembling fella that we somehow managed to rescue by opening up 8 key locks and stuff like that, and either way, I just love the fact that both Candy Kong and Funky Kong managed able to come up with a plan, they're able to actually just to like kick, you know what I mean, King K. Rool's butt. So either way though, yeah, let's give my final thoughts of Donkey Kong 64. Wow, what a marathon of collectathons, let me tell you. But either way though, as far as when I finished the game, during the actual Let's Play itself, I actually had a lot of fun time playing this game. I mean, sure it does have some frustrating moments here and there, but let's start with the positives first. The story itself, well, usually it's like a very standard, like, you know, King K. Rool up to no good shenanigans once again. Except this time around though about the fact that he did somehow kidnapped not only Diddy Kong, but also, you know what I mean, Lanky Kong, Tiny Kong, and Chunky Kong, and what have you. But as a result of that kind of stuff though, I think the story is, well, pretty simple for the most part. The gameplay I always enjoy, especially noticeable about the fact that despite there are some backtracking issues, about the fact that you always have to able to constantly switch between different Kongs on the actual tag barrel and stuff like that. In addition to that though, about the fact that I just really love some worlds in this game. There are a few exceptions I do not like, but I'll get some more details onto that though. And also I feel like the visuals in this game still holds up even to this day, especially noticeable this game came out in 1999, a year after Banjo-Kazooie, and a year before Banjo-Tooie came out, so as a result, it still holds up very well when it comes to its visuals alike. And especially noticeable, I really do enjoy the soundtrack, especially noticeable about the fact that I always enjoy the DK rap as the intro cutscene of the game whenever you boot up the game, and especially noticeable about the fact I always attempt to enjoy the controls to able to get accustomed to. Although, despite the fact on the Wii U Virtual Console re-release version, that relatively speaking, it can be felt a bit unsensitive, or in some cases though, it feels a bit sensitive at times, when it comes to utilizing instruments, or the camera mode, or, you know, the actual weapon mode. But as a result of that kind of stuff though, it does take a bit of a while to get used to. But either way though, it certainly feels a little bit more, well, manageable to say the least. But yeah, I really enjoyed this title. So as a result, there are negative things about this game has to offer though, I must admit, such as for instance that I'm not a big fan of the backtracking aspect. Well, at least to be more specifically though, in the original Banjo-Kazooie game, doesn't actually require you to do the ridiculous amount of backtracking. It only happens once during the forms of Freeze's Peak, once you're able to actually access those speed shoes and stuff like that, but that's about it basically. So as a result though, this game is more accurately a backtracking incarnate. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, yeah, it can be a bit tiresome at points. And also about the fact that there are some worlds I obviously enjoy, like my favorites will be the forms of DK Isles, but also with the forms of Jungle Japes, and especially noticeable with the forms of, well, Fungi Forest, surprisingly. But there are certain worlds I'm not a big fan of, like for instance there is the forms of Gloomy Galleon, which that was by far the worst world in the game, and also with the forms of Crystal Caves, just the nature of the forms of how the fact that it can be felt a bit dark in certain places. And also I feel like that Hideout Realm can be felt a bit underwhelming at points because it's filled to the brim with minigames. Speaking of minigames though, I don't mind most of the minigames, but there was one minigame I cannot stand the most. That's what honor goes to the forms of Beaver Bother, because that minigame is very infamous for a lot of people, so as a result. And also about the fact I feel like certain race challenges, well, they're fine, but there are a couple of exceptions though, like for instance there was this horrible sliding beetle race, there's annoying flying owl race, and even especially noticeable with that stupid rabbit. So as a result though, but some people complained that the mechanical fish, Golden Banana was probably the most infamous Golden Banana in the entire game. Well, I can possibly understand why, that a lot of people get a lot of frustration with that mission, but honestly it did took me about 1 attempt, at least what I thought it was. But either way though, it's just about the fact the matter is though, sometimes the analog stick can be felt a bit sensitive at times. But either way though, as far as saying goes, I think that's about it basically, so yeah, let's just enjoy another pieces of cutscene that we can able to watch, while at the same time I just somehow commentating at points, so yeah, I do apologize for that. And this is the reward you can get if you manage to obtain the 101% in the game, so...
Next. 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 Next.
So yeah, that was basically the reward if you managed to get 101% in the game. So all it shows is basically it's just the behind the scenes or something like that. So as a result though, or some of those cuts things or something. But either way though, I didn't exactly pay attention to it at all. So yeah, that's just basically how you can get. Although some people seem to say that getting 101% is not even worth it, because obviously about the fact that, well, it doesn't give you that much new to it. But either way, let's just double check on my file selection right here. So I've beat it for about 15 hours and 36 minutes. So almost like 16 hours for that playtime. So either way though, it's not so bad after all. So either way though, chances are we've got 201 golden bananas, so as a result, yeah, everything else will be, well, come together for the most part. So yeah, that's essentially how this goes. So before we end off this Let's Play, I was originally going to be able to try to do a dedicated extra video, but the thing is though, I don't think there's that much extras we can show this to you guys. But basically, if you hit into this multiplayer mode, yeah, that's essentially how this is, called Kong Battle, that basically you do have two playable modes, which are Monkey Smash, which is basically it's like a free-for-all battle royal kind of thing. Like, I believe whenever you play multiplayer, you always have to make sure you play with 2 players up to 4 players. So basically we have Monkey Smash, including Battle Arena as well, which I think, kind of thinking about it though, it functions kind of like the same way as the regular Battle Arenas for the likes of the main game or something. But as far as Monkey Smash is concerned, I think there are a grand total of like 3 arenas you can able to explore into. So yeah, I guess that probably explains it how. So either way though, and yeah, kind of thinking about it though, there's one thing I totally forgot to mention during the course of this Let's Play in mind. What makes this game pretty cool though is that this game came out exactly the same year, as in not only in Toy Story 2, but also with the forms of Tarzan as well, because relatively speaking, between both Donkey Kong 64 and Tarzan are both jungle related. So pretty cool stuff, I might say, especially noticeable because both those things are awesome back in 1999. The same thing did happen for the likes of the English version of Mario Party, and in addition to that though, Super Smash Bros. Was actually its introduction point, and as a result though, that might be something else entirely. So yeah, and as I said before about the fact that, relatively speaking, since we've actually got every single banana fairies in the game, you do able to have the ability to unlock not only rewatching certain cinematic cutscenes, but also about the fact that we can able to play through like some bonus games. Now we've already saw Donkey Kong Arcade as well as Jetpack, so as a result you can able to replay those at any point, but there's also some cheat codes you can able to activate, and heck, let's not forget ourselves with the forms of those 2 bonus games that we haven't sort of stumbled across into throughout the entire playthrough, like for instance the Rambi bonus game. So basically all you have to do is just ram into those beavers as Rambi. So as a result though, that's what they deserved after that particular despicable beaver bother minigame, because good lord, that minigame still sucks. So yeah, basically with those 2 other bonus games in mind, they're all just for high scores and stuff like that, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So either way though, that's essentially how this goes basically. So like, I kinda just wish about the fact that this game will get remade onto the forms of from the ground up, or heck, even especially noticeable, maybe potentially in the future, they will add this game onto the actual NSO expansion pack or something. But either way though, time will tell as far as this is concerned, because obviously we've now got, you know, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games here and there. So but either way, that's essentially how Rampy bonus game actually looks like. So either way though, once time is up, basically you can able to actually insert your name onto your scoreboard, and basically though, it saves into your game pack. So that's basically how this is basically. However, you can only insert up to 3 letters, so pretty much standard stuff when it comes to arcade experience and stuff like that. But either way though, not only that we can able to actually show off Rampy bonus game, but there's also the On God bonus game too. Like basically about the fact that in this one in particular, we have to go through stars in order to rank up points. So yeah, that's essentially how this goes basically. So bit weird able to actually have only 2 animal buddies in this game, as opposed to the usual like roughly 5 or something like that, unlike in the previous Donkey Kong Country games. I mean, I don't mind about it at all, especially notable because concerning about the fact that with the memory limitations or something like that. But yeah, there's also the way you can able to actually like turn on your cheat codes if you manage able to collect quite a few banana fairies. That essentially allows us to give us not only infinite amounts of those banana coins, but also infinite amounts of crystal coconuts and ammo counts, and especially noticeable with the forms of well, I would classify for saying like I don't know what I call it, because it has been a very long while since I actually known this kind of stuff. So either way though, I think, relatively speaking, that's as far as I can talk about in terms of certain bonuses of how this game has to offer. Well, I was expecting to able to originally try to show you guys. There was actually the forms of another cinematic cutscene if you managed able to leave the game, or potentially speaking, just trying to able to go back to the title screen if you get into the adventure mode. There was actually a game over cinematic cutscene where basically King K. Rool just doing his evil laughter, and basically though he decides to able to fire the actual the satellite laser cannon, and then basically though it says game over right until when he's trying to fire DK Islands, which funnily enough that'll make a comeback in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as King K. Rool's final smash. So pretty cool to able to actually bring that particular nostalgia memory back despite how dark it could be. So either way though, yeah, that's essentially how this goes basically. It's kind of like the same thing as in Banjo-Kazooie, where basically though, I think relatively speaking though, you probably already know what I was trying to explain about this. Like if you like exit out the game, basically you see the game over cinematic cutscene, and you probably name the rest. And there's also Crusher in this game for some odd reason. However though, Crusher's only existence in battle mode, so either way though, that might be some consumption to this matter. So yeah, that's essentially how this goes basically for this point, guys. I mean, I was expecting to try to able to do the widescreen mode playthrough, but while I've tested this out, it's all like squished up, so it's like not as pleasant compared to the forms of how it does it on normal size to me though. And there's also the option you can able to skip the actual cinematic cutscene, which technically we didn't, because obviously we want to see cinematic cutscenes in general. Although potentially speaking though, about the fact of the matter is though, that, oh and by the way, something's worth mentioning though, if you ever played Donkey Kong Arcade onto this particular mystery mode alongside with Jetpack, I believe you do get yourselves a high score system here and there as well. So relatively speaking though, you can play those at any time. So yeah, that's essentially how this goes basically. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching of our Let's Play of Donkey Kong 64, and let me tell you, it's been a fun ride, especially concerning about the fact that this is by far the longest Donkey Kong Let's Play we've ever done. Well, concerning about the fact that we still got a whole ways to go for doing more Donkey Kong series of Let's Plays. Like, we still have to go through not only certain side games, like, you know, King of the Swing and all that stuff, but also same applies to Donkey Kong Country Returns as well. So relatively speaking though, about the fact that, as I said before, I did have a fun time playing this game, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, you guys should probably already know. So yeah, that pretty much does it for this entire Let's Play of Donkey Kong 64, guys, and this is me, Maxi, here, from the likes of the Maxi Toys. Up next, in terms of our Donkey Kong series of Let's Plays, it could be either be Donkey Kong King of Swing or Donkey Kong Country Returns. Let me know in the comments down below just so what you can able to choose out of the two. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.